to the first episode of the Solve My World show, where we believe that the only way to solve the world is to solve our own personal world. So, the first thing I want to talk about today is an app called Simby. This is an app that's basically a barter type app. It allows you to trade skills with other people. So, I'll talk more about that. Really interesting looking app. I haven't tried it out yet, but it looks really cool. The next thing I'm going to talk about is a project I'm working on. This is a piece of my smart list, which is my time management system I've been working on. This is the life designer portion of my smart list. And basically, it allows you to design what you want your life to look like and plan accordingly so that you're actually achieving your dreams instead of just using a worthless to-do list. So I'm pretty excited about that, and so I'll show you what I've got going on with that so far. And then to finish up, I'll talk about an idea I've been playing around with, and it's kind of a complex one for the first show, but I've been thinking about it a lot, so I thought I'd go ahead and start with it. So it's basically the idea of a cryptocurrency that doesn't inflate or deflate in value. So I'll explain more about what a cryptocurrency is, and why it would matter, and more later on. So I hope you enjoy the show. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk to you about is the app Simby that I came across the other day, and I've just researched a little bit. I haven't tried it out yet, but I found a blog post on blog.ycombinator.com/Simby, where they kind of give an overview. They interview the person who started it. So I'm going to read some of this article and give you some of my thoughts. So it first starts out, it explains what it is. It says, Simby is a platform for artisans and freelancers to exchange services. With Simby, you can trade any of your skills, like photography, for credits that you can spend in the Simby network. You can redeem your credits for things like salsa lessons, photo retouching, or thousands of other services offered by the community. We sat down with founder KJ Erickson to hear about how Simby was started. So first off, it's really intriguing to me. It sounds like it's kind of a barter economy type of an app. It allows people to exchange services and skills between each other without having to use any money. And then it does have credits that you can spend, so that if you can't match up a skill you want to trade with someone, you can just pay them in credits instead of with actual money. So it goes through and explains how it started, but basically she built a yoga studio, and she was a yoga instructor, but she wasn't really making much money. But then she started having people come in and being like, hey, if I build you a cabinet, will you give me free yoga lessons and things like that? And she started doing that. And so even though she wasn't making very much money off of it, she was starting to get all sorts of little perks. And she thought, wow, this is a really good idea. Even though I don't have much money, I'm still, having a good life and good standard of living and things. And so that's how she started. She had the idea to make this app. And I don't remember why I know that this is a woman, but I'm pretty sure it says that somewhere. But if not, I'm sorry to KJ, the founder. So it talks about what are some of the problems that people have had in the past with just doing barter. Why don't we just go to our neighbor and trade services all the time? And what this article says here, it says, often you run into the trouble of people wanting your service, but you didn't need theirs, or vice versa. There is this weird mismatch of services and no efficient way to trade. So when I built Simby, I wanted people to still be able to carry out that transaction, but instead of getting their service, you can get credits, which you can then use on something you do want. So that's kind of like what I was talking about. The problem with the barter economy is If I want what you have, but you don't want anything that I have, then we can't really trade. And so she added in those credits to make that work. And my thought on that is that's exactly why money has value in the first place. Um, Money obviously isn't intrinsically valuable. If you took a paper dollar and it wasn't backed by the U.S. economy, and you couldn't go and trade it to other people for things you want, it wouldn't be worth anything. It's just a piece of paper. But because we can trade it for goods we want, that's what gives money its value. So the more valuable money is one that can be traded efficiently. And so that brings me to the question, so why not use money for this service? Because that's what the credits mimic, is money. And the answer, I think, is because of taxes. Because if we use those credits, we can't be taxed. Just like in the barter economy, we can't really be taxed. So I think technically we're supposed to keep track of things like that and pay taxes on it. But that's never going to happen. It's too difficult to keep track of. And so using these credits, since it's not real money, we can't be taxed on it. And so I think that's why they do it this way. So if we go down a little bit further, it asks how people like this platform. Do they like it, or is it kind of weird? And they say the one thing we hear most often from users is that they've been talking about this idea for ages, and someone finally built it. The most surprising thing to me is how much it's become a social network as much as anything else. It's launching friendships in new cities. People are building these Simby communities around themselves. Once they've received a great service, Simby becomes this internal reference engine for them to tell all their friends. I think it's fascinating to see communities being built from scratch. The numbers are pretty crazy. We launched the beta in January, and we've seen more than 10,000 services offered across 100 different categories. So I'm curious right now when this was written. So this was in 2016, so it's been around for a year now. So when this article was written, they had more than 10,000 services. That was 6 months ago or so. So the question I asked when I read that, if everyone was like, oh, someone finally built this, then it's like, well, why hasn't someone just done this already? And I think, again, the answer is taxes. Because if we wanted to do these small little, mini businesses with each other, it's not really worth the effort to keep track of all the little transactions so that we can report it to the IRS. By the time we have to do all the accounting and everything, it's not really worth our time to do these, to just help out with one or two little things. And so I think that's where something like this becomes really handy, because now we can, go and just trade services with people without having to worry about all of that paperwork. So I'll scroll down here to the bottom, and they ask KJ, where do you ultimately see Simby going long term? And she replies, I want to enable people to do what they love and get what they need without being restricted by costs. The millennial generation is reconceiving work. They want to do things that are both flexible and fulfilling. It's not just about freelancing. It's freelancing with a purpose. I want Simby to be the platform that will allow people to offer their skills while turning to their community to get the things they need. So I think that this whole thing is a great idea, because it encourages people to, to look to their local community to encourage the barter economy, which is cheaper as far as, not paying taxes again, but also it grows our community, and we get to know people in a better way. And I think just allowing people to be able to interact with each other more simply, makes the whole situation better, because we can have what's the word I'm looking for? We can have the reputation. We can know the reputations of everyone on the platform, because we can see, oh, they do good work for all of my friends and they all like it, and so that's something I want to do too. And we can support those people that are doing good work. So that is the spotlight today. Is the app Simby, and I'll have the link in the description and in the show notes, so you can check it out. Like I said, I haven't tried it yet. I signed up and downloaded the app, but I haven't gotten on, so maybe I'll give an update in the future. But I think things like this are going to be a very, very big thing in the future, with helping us to solve our world. All right, so now moving on to the project I'm working on right now. I just made an update to my smart list, which is my time management system. I'm sure I'm going to talk a lot more about it in the future, but basically it's my system for planning and prioritizing my life, and deciding how I'm going to spend my time. But what I've been working on lately, I call it the designer at this point, and it's how you decide, it's how you design what you want your life to look like. So it doesn't look very pretty yet, but basically what we've got here is, in the columns, we've got the different areas of our life. So we've got the skills, knowledge, attributes, our network, possessions, and responsibilities. And those may or may not change in the future as I think about it more, but those are the areas I have right now of your life. And then under each area, I list out each thing that I either have in my life that I want to continue, or something that I want to add into my life. I want to become that. And so you can see some of the examples on here that I have. Like my network, for example, I've got my soccer team that I play on, my family, my church community, friends, Bit Nation community, and then my possessions, things I need to take care of, responsibilities, and so on. But basically, how this page works is, after you list all these, you can come over here and pick one of your categories that you have. Like, for example, I've got house written down right here, and it brings up 3 different categories: maintain, improve, and explore. So those are the ways that you put yourself in the right direction on each task. So, for example, for my house, what I need to do to maintain my house, which basically means keep it where it's at, don't fall backwards. I've got cleaning my room so far and nothing else. So I can add more things here. The idea is I'll be able to type out all the things here, and it will add it to my to-do list, basically. And then improve are the things that I want to do to make the house better. So I've got organizing my room, to make sure everything is where I want it. That'll make my house a better place. And so that's an improvement thing. And then explore, as you can see, I don't have anything there, but explore would be any media I'm consuming or things I'm learning that would make me better at maintaining or improving the house. And so maybe it's a podcast I'm listening to, or a book I'm reading, or things like that. So you list out the things that you can think of that will help you to do that. Let me bring up another example real quick if I've got one. How about money? Let's see what I got on this one. Okay, so it brings up, I've got, to maintain it, I need to keep track of my budget, And then I've got a task called money, which is doing freelance projects and stuff. And then I need to remember to pay my PayPal balance, and so I've got that on there. And then things to improve my life, I've got a project I'm working on with Bitcoin faucets, which I won't get into, but and then I want to figure out what to do with all my gift cards, and then I want to update my budget spreadsheet so that it works more efficiently. And then I don't have any explore things written down, but I know off the top of my head there's a few that I could put there, like my my business podcast, the Thrive Time Show, I could put there, or my Thrive 15 business videos I'm watching. So those are a couple I could put in the explore category. And so the purpose of this is to go through each one of your the categories of things you want to improve in your life, and then you can list out specifically, what do I need to do to make that happen? And then those things basically become your to-do list. And maybe I'll go into at a later date how my to-do list system works. But yeah, so that's what I've been working on lately, is this this designer page. So if you guys have any thoughts or questions on that, let me know. Okay, so now to finish up, I want to talk about an idea that I've been kind of playing around with lately. I wasn't sure if I wanted to share this one because it's a little bit advanced for my first episode, but it's the one that I've been kind of the most excited about as far as things I'm kind of thinking about. So basically the idea is to create a cryptocurrency that doesn't inflate or deflate in value. So already I know I've probably lost like 90% of you, but basically a cryptocurrency is any sort of currency that is based on, instead of having a government make sure that it's safe, it's based on cryptography, I think is the word I'm looking for, but it's basically math is what makes sure that it works. And so you might be familiar with Bitcoin. It's a cryptocurrency, and there's lots of other cryptocurrencies that have kind of copied Bitcoin, and it's a very interesting subject that I won't get into now. But basically, that's what a cryptocurrency is. So the most cryptocurrencies are built in a way that makes them deflationary. So what that means is over time they go up in value, and that's opposite of what we call fiat currencies, which are the government-backed currencies like the dollar or the pound or the euro. Those are all inflationary currencies, which means over time the money is worth less and less. So cryptocurrencies are the opposite, where over time they're worth more and more. And people argue about whether or not that's a problem or not, and I don't really know. At this point, there's not, as far as I can tell, there's not really enough evidence to say for sure whether or not it's a problem or not. But anyway, I've been thinking about how could you make a cryptocurrency that doesn't inflate or deflate in value. It just stays the same value forever. And the problem with that is the value is based on the market. The value of something is based on supply and demand. And as we talked about earlier in this show, the value of money doesn't come from whatever object you're using to represent money. It comes from the ability you have to transfer it between people and the scarcity of it. So Bitcoin goes up in value because it's scarce, that only 12 and a half of them are mined every 10 minutes. And then, every so many years, that number cuts in half so that there'll be less and less of them in the future. So as opposed to like the dollar, for example, the Federal Reserve creates money so that at a rate that makes it so that the value of the dollar goes down over time. Why they do that's a whole nother subject, but anyway, so how do you keep it at a steady level? Like what would you tie it to? And so the idea I've thought of is having the currency be tied to working time. So like one token would be worth 10 minutes of work, for example. Let's go with that example. So basically, how that would work is anyone can create new tokens, but to create one, it would take them 10 minutes of work to do it. What that work is I don't know, and how, but that's how it works. And so what that would mean is if I'm sitting there and the tokens are worth more than they should be, then I'm like, well, it's going to be better for me to mine. That's what we call it, creating cryptocurrencies, mining. It would be better for me to mine these tokens because every 10 minutes I'm going to get a token, and those tokens are valuable. But then if everyone starts doing that, then lots of tokens are going to flood into the market, which increases the supply. And those familiar with supply and demand knows when the supply goes up, the price goes down. So the value of this token would go down in value. And so then I would be like, well, it's not worth it for me to do it anymore. So then I would stop doing it, which then means the supply is going to dwindle. So then the price will go back up, and you can see what would happen. So then the price would get to a certain point where people would want to mine for it again, and then where they wouldn't. And so it'd go back and forth. So in theory, I'm thinking you would keep it at a fairly stable level to where, it's worth a certain value forever. So just kind of a thought I've been thinking about. And maybe that could even be kind of like an unemployment help for people. Anyone could do it. It would be set up in a way that anyone could do it. It would just take 10 minutes no matter what. And so if you had no other way of making an income, that's what you could do, and still make a small income. A couple problems I've thought of that might be problematic is maybe it could encourage more human trafficking and slavery type of situations, because if you could just get a whole bunch of basically slaves or a bunch of kids or something that have been kidnapped and force them to sit there and mine these tokens for you all the time, and then get rich off it, that could be a problem. So I thought maybe you could limit how much a single person could do, or I'm not sure exactly how to solve that. But another potential problem is maybe the value just be too low because too many people would want to get the easy money. But I think that wouldn't really be a problem, because even if it's worth, even if it's only worth like 50 cents and people will still do it so that every 10 minutes they're getting 50 cents, as long as the currency stays relatively stable, that's the whole point anyway. So I don't really think that's really a problem. But the biggest problem is just the technical side. How do you make it so that a human has to do it, and someone can't build a computer that'll just do it? So I don't know the answer to that. I don't know enough about that type of things, but that's kind of one of my questions I've kind of been wondering about the last little bit. So anyway, I thought I'd share it. And with that wraps up our show today. So if you have any thoughts or comments on any of the things I shared, let me know. I'd really appreciate it. And if you have any questions, or if you have any interesting ideas you want to share with me about people that are doing cool things in the world to solve the world's problems, send them my way. Put them in the comment section, either on the YouTube video or on the blog post at solvemyworld.com. And we will see you guys next time.